The League of Women Voters encourages informed and active participation in government. Our mission is to inform citizens about major public policy issues and about candidates seeking office. We do not support or oppose any political party or candidate. Our timekeeper, Posey, will explain the timing for tonight's forum. Well, I can explain it, maybe since I have the microphone. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement, and then I will pose questions that have been submitted from the audience, some online and some here in person tonight, and each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer those questions, and then each candidate will also have 2 minutes for a closing statement. We will go no longer than 6:45 because we do have another group of candidates coming in for trustee positions at that time. So that's how it will work. Posey will keep careful track and will alert the candidates when their time is running out. I'd like to thank both of the candidates for keeping your answers short so we can cover as many issues as possible. And if you go over, I will stop you. And we will begin tonight with the candidates for municipal judge. And this part of the forum, as I said, will last up to 45 minutes. We will then take a short break and resume with the candidates for village trustee. And that part of the forum will last another 45 to 60 minutes. Audience, your questions are welcome. We also have a number of questions that were submitted ahead of time. Raise your hand if you have filled out a question card, and a league representative will pick it up and give it to me. Your question must be addressed to all the candidates, and we reserve the right to reword questions for clarity and brevity. A ground rule for the forum is that any demonstration of support or opposition to the candidates or their positions will be out of order. We wish to get to as many questions as possible to help voters learn about as many issues as possible, so please remain respectful. Our two candidates for municipal judge are, to my immediate right, Timothy Edward Hogan, and further right, John T. Shomish, Jr. I'd like to welcome their candidates, and audience, thank you for attending tonight. Let us thank both candidates with our applause. And thanks also to the town of Fox Crossing for making this space available for tonight's forum. Okay, let's start with our opening statements. And Mr. Shomish, you won the toin toss, so you start first.
Ready with that timer? Should I stand up? Okay. Good evening. I am John Shomish, and because I only have a 3-minute opening statement, thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting this on. And thank you guys for showing up and actually caring. I am not what you would call a political animal. I was class president junior year of high school and was in student government, and I did some of that in college, and I really, other than serving on the Board of Governors for the State Bar of Wisconsin for 4 years, I'm really not a political animal. But I would like to return dignity to Fox Crossing's Municipal Court, and if we see Fox Crossing in the news, I want to see that it has to do with the beautiful river we live on, with the trestle trail, with all the good things that we have. And I could come up with a cute saying like law and order within the border, and that would be true, but we have to remember it's a municipal judge position. So first, a little bit about me. I've been a resident of the town, now village, since October of 1999. 2 of my 3 children are lifelong town/village residents. My wife Shelley is here tonight, my daughter Natalie. My children did go through the Menasha school system. I've been practicing law for 30 years. I live over off of Palisades and George, right near the park. And I do litigation work, I do trial work, I try cases. The lion's share of my practice has to do with personal injury, but I also do a lot of litigation, real estate litigation. I've done real estate development. And over the course of my career, I've done many areas, but I've always been involved in trial and courtroom work, which I think that experience would be invaluable. I've been married to Shelley for 21 years. I interview with married with kids, understand issues that come along. I really feel like the reason I wanted to do this was, for years I thought, well, Len's going to stop down eventually and then I'll run, or maybe no one will even run. But I think that you want to give back to the community. And I feel that, the ordinances are here, but there's a way to achieve justice, but still teach a lesson. So perhaps if you have someone who is a young person who has a positive experience, they can learn a lesson, make the town safer for all of us, because a lot of the cases are traffic related. And I'll have a closing statement. You can ask me any questions that you want, but I'm excited to be here, and this has been a really neat experience. So with that being said, I guess I'll sit down.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for inviting us here to share our thoughts. My name's Tim Hogan, and I would be honored to be your municipal judge. I have 8 years of experience in handling nothing but criminal, traffic, ordinance-related matters. I'm in the courtroom almost every single day, in front of judges, circuit court, municipal court. I get to see those judges. I get to see how they preside over cases, just like the ones that the municipal judge would preside over here. I see how they treat the people that appear in front of them. I see how they treat the attorneys that appear in front of them. I know what it takes to be a good judge, and I've seen what happens if you're not a good judge. I do have plans to save the taxpayers' money as well. I've reached out both to the court manager, Mandy, as well as Tyler Claringbull. He's the village prosecutor. Right now, we're running really inefficiently. Right now, when somebody wants to contest their case, they come here, they enter a not guilty plea, and it gets set for trial. Meanwhile, the village prosecutor has to prepare that trial as though it were going. He has to subpoena witnesses, many of them police officers, who have to be here on a set day, wasting taxpayer money when they could be out on the street serving us. Instead, Tyler Claringbull has to spend time and money preparing for these cases, most of which don't even go to trial. Rather, my plan is to have Tyler come here in person during initial appearances and resolve many of the cases that are going to be here on the first day. I've already spoken with Tyler. He's on board with that. Mandy, the court manager, is on board with it as well. I think that my time on the county board as well, I was on the Winnebago County Board for a number of months. That experience I'm going to bring to municipal court as well. I've been able to listen to feedback of the public, understanding that as an official that is elected, I would represent you, all the folks who are here right now, fiscally responsible with the court, open to feedback on how we can do things better. That's what I want to make this court to be again. I saw it used to be that way, and I think it will be very easy to do again. That's why I'm running to be your municipal judge, and I would ask for your support next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question that we have is about the office in general. Most Fox Crossing voters don't have a good idea what this office is all about. Please explain what the municipal judge does, what is the office for, and who does it serve? Mr. Hogan, you start.
So the municipal judge presides over traffic and non-traffic ordinances in the village of Fox Crossing. So speeding tickets, OWIs, other municipal violations. When somebody gets an ordinance violation, they get a ticket, they get arrested for an OWI, they come to court. The municipal judge presides over those cases. If necessary, presides over the trials that would happen. If somebody contests the ticket, would preside over rulings on evidentiary issues, deciding who's going to testify, if there's any other issues like that in the course of a trial. Or if somebody wants to accept responsibility and they enter a plea of guilty or no contest to an ordinance violation, then the municipal judge has to preside and issue a sentence, typically just a fine, but I think there's a lot more that a municipal judge could do. Ordering community service, having people take responsibility and go out and give back to the community. I think the municipal judge also has to show people that a courtroom is not a good place to be. As a criminal defense attorney, I've seen a lot of people reach the stage where they end up going to jail, they end up going to prison. And I think if we can get people who appear in front of municipal court, get an understanding of what it takes to accept responsibility and to modify their behavior, they won't ever have to come back to court again. So I think that one of the big roles of municipal judge is to set an understanding for the people that appear in front of him or her, and to make sure that they don't ever have to be involved in the criminal justice system, which is a much worse place to be.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Shomish.
Well, obviously, it serves, the municipal court serves every citizen of the village of Fox Crossing. You know, a lot of these municipal laws, especially the traffic and the stuff that, you know, what a lot of people don't understand is sometimes charges go to the county, they'd be down in the Winnebago County Courthouse. They decide not to charge, or there's a reason to let, for whatever reason, they don't want to prosecute a certain charge and they kick it back. And what most of these charges, we have a saying, they're written in blood. You know, it may sound dumb, stopping at stop signs, you know, looking before you turn right away, speeding, not passing and no passing, but that makes up a good share of my practice. So, you know, really, it's not just a job, it's to make the whole community safer, and isn't that, after all, what we all want? There's a significant amount of revenue that comes in through this process, and I'm not saying it should be a profit center, but in 2018, they brought in about $244,000, so we have to be efficient, and I have some ideas regarding that as well. But that being said, if there's a college kid who gets in trouble for having a couple beers, I'm not saying we should let them go, but we have to be fair that they don't lose their student loans. So there's lessons to be taught. So it's not so much that, you know, people say, oh, you want to be activists. No, I want to be fair, you know, the Solomon approach. You don't actually have to be an attorney to be a municipal judge, but I think it helps to have an even temperament. And because I do litigation on both sides and for various people, I don't think that'll be a problem. And in the last 15 seconds, there's also zoning ordinances, dog ordinances, those types of charges. Someone's deck is too big, you know, we can work that stuff out. Doesn't have to be a horrible place to be. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Shomish, you start with this question. How has your experience as a Fox Crossing resident prepared you for the office you are seeking?
Well, it's a good question. I've lived here, as I said, the last 19 years. My friend Kevin Olhafen, when I was in high school, lived here, and the Olsons, and I spent a lot of time in Fox Crossing. I've worked with George Dearborn in development stuff. I've seen, I'm familiar with some of the issues with annexation, et cetera. And because I am in tune with what's going on, because my children are in the school district, I'm able to, and because I pay taxes, and thank goodness we're not the highest tax place around here, we're on the low side. I like our services, but I'm just in tune with, I know many people having lived here for so long, and I've represented several residents in my 30 years. So all that being said, I think just everyday life experience and legal experience would make me fine for this job.
Thank you. Mr. Hogan, same question.
Thank you. I love this community. I'm not going to lie. After I graduated law school, I moved up here to start my career, and I fell in love instantly. Although I haven't lived here for 20, 30 years, I'm originally from Fond du Lac. I moved up here, and I got to know the people. I got to know the people that would elect the municipal judge. From my wife, I see she's here. We walk our dogs on the paths during the summertime, even sometimes during the wintertime when they need exercise. We enjoy this community, being a part of this community. To be a part of the community, I think, is an important idea to remember if you're an elected official. As municipal judge, getting to know the members of the community in which you serve is important. I'm open to that. I've been open to that when I was on the county board, getting to know the people I would represent, getting to know the people I would serve. That's what I think it takes, and my experience as a Fox Crossing resident, to know what I love about this community, to keep people here, not to scare them away. We want them to stay here. And I think if we have a very efficient municipal court system, one that's fiscally responsible, one that's fair, people are not going to leave. People are going to understand that they're going to be treated with respect and dignity if they have to go to court. That's what it means to be a member of this village.
Thank you. Mr. Hogan, this question is for you first. What types of cases do you expect to be most challenging if you're elected, and why?
OWI firsts are handled in front of municipal court more often than not. When somebody is driving drunk, even if there's no accident, they're pulled over for speeding, failing to stop for a stop sign. Those, I think, are going to be some of the more difficult cases to preside over. A lot of those people have unique circumstances. Some of them are very, very young. Some of them are very, very old. We have set penalties for any OWI case: loss of license, alcohol and drug assessments, fines, other court costs. And those are going to be very difficult because a lot of people, they go to a bar, they have a couple of drinks, and they leave. They're not intending to drive drunk. A lot of the other municipal ordinance violations, many people intend to commit some sort of violation when they commit them, not OWI cases. And I think it's going to be very difficult to preside over cases that somebody's in trouble, not because they intended to do a wrong, but because they got caught up in a bad situation. Maybe they need treatment, maybe not. I think those are going to be particularly difficult. Other ones that are more violent related, not criminal, but disorderly conducts, or where it has property theft that occurs between two individuals. I think those are going to be very difficult. How do you weigh one person's situation who found themselves in court against the person whose stuff was taken, or somebody who was violated on their person? I think that's going to be a very difficult balance in front of the judge. But I would relish that opportunity so I could get to know both sides of the case and then do something that's fair in the end.
Thank you. Mr. Shomish, same question.
Well, it largely depends on the context, but the nuisance type cases, I would think any type of disorderly conduct, it's like when your kids fight, how do you choose which one to believe? In the municipal court, unfortunately, you can't send them both to their rooms. And so you do have to weigh those, and if there was any violence, that would be troubling to me, especially for younger people who's, probably haven't fully matured yet. And that's really what I'm concerned about. Older people ought to know better certain things, but again, you have to be cognizant of the circumstances in which they find themselves. I'm a big proponent of personal responsibility. I did attend the Jerry Spence Trial Lawyer College. I know several people that are like chemical experts as far as drunk driving goes. I also understand the evidence code. That is one of my problems, and I don't see any judges in here that would fit this bill. But unfortunately, a lot of people get appointed and they don't have experience with trial work, and they don't understand the rules of evidence, and that's really troublesome because people want to bring things in that they shouldn't bring in. So you want to be fair and firm, but at the same time craft a sensible decision that uses the resources wisely and, try to work for the win-win where it's appropriate. Where it's not appropriate, then sometimes you might have to spank them. So I think that the domestic violence, the shoplifting with the young people will bother me, and to a certain extent the drunk driving could be a problem.
Thank you. Mr. Shomish, this one is for you first, and this is kind of a two-part question. What is your outlook on Fox Crossing's expenditure of over $77,000 in legal fees regarding the dispute between Judge Kaczynski and his court manager? And the second part is, how will you restore the faith of our residents in the municipal court?
Excellent question. I said that in my opening statement about returning dignity, and I see that Mr. Kaczynski is not in the office. I saw Mrs. Bartlett here. I just met her, got along with her really well. What I feel about that, I wasn't part of that decision. As a citizen, I'm troubled. I understand that you don't work for free. I've been involved in large commercial business divorces where companies might be worth $20 or $25 million, and your clients are paying you over $100,000 in legal fees, and I earn every penny. So it's not like I can't just knee-jerk react. But if you have one of your employees who is being harassed, you can't just let that go, because then you'd have a hostile work environment. So as a taxpayer, I'm not delighted about it And we saw how the trial turned out, but that was then, this is now. I don't have those issues. The way I would return dignity is to show up and do my job. I have a good reputation in the community, I would like to think. We have good leadership in Fox Crossing right now. I went to high school with the chief of police. Dropping your name, Tim, sorry. But he's a level-headed guy, and I looked at some of the reports over the last 3 years, and actually, since Tim has been chief, some of the cases have actually gone down in amount, and I attribute that to the police department using good discretion and good choices, which makes everything run smoother. So I think just having good police in place and a stable judge who's been here a long time. By the way, I have a golden retriever. I'm allergic to cats. Sorry for cat people, but I'm a dog person. That all being said, that's how I would restore the dignity.
Mr. Hogan, same question.
Thank you. When I saw what happened with Len Kaczynski and his court manager, I wasn't just troubled. I was appalled. There's a reason why we call judges Your Honor. They need to be honorable and respectable of everybody. In my career, I've seen, and I told my law partner who's here today, I told him from your very first day that you're in court, you're no better than anybody else. You're part of a system that's honorable, a justice system. You treat everybody. Doesn't matter if it's a court reporter, it doesn't matter if it's court security. You treat everybody with the respect and dignity you want to be treated with. That's what I believe. When I saw what occurred, I was appalled to see that a judge, someone who's supposed to be called Your Honor, treated his court staff that way. We just can't have that. We can't tolerate it, and us as taxpayers suffered for it. Spending taxpayer money to figure and situate all of that. That's appalling. Why did we ever get involved in that situation? Because we didn't realize when we start to see problems, we need to take action. I can say that I've known Mandy for probably about 7 or 8 years now, when she was court staff in Judge Metropolis's courtroom in Outagamie County. I've had, I think, a great working relationship with her since then. I've spoken to her about ideas on how to make this court run more efficiently, better, how to make it run smoothly. And that's what I hope to do if elected as your municipal judge.
Thank you. And Mr. Hogan, we'll start with you again this time. If elected, what message would you like to send to the community about your toughness on crime?
I do think we need to be tough on crime, but there's different ways to do that. Tough on crime doesn't necessarily mean sentencing someone to the highest that we can sentence them to, imposing the highest fine that we can impose. I think it means sending a strong message to the people that you preside in or before that you can't tolerate this behavior. Sometimes people need a stern lecture. Sometimes people have never received that before when they come into court. Some people do need higher fines. I think being tough on crime also means we're not going to tolerate people who have other issues that need to be addressed. Substance abuse issues, mental health issues. Treating those can help be tough on crime. All we want at the end of the day is for no crime, right? That's a perfect world. We're never going to get that. But we can address the needs that need to be addressed. Simply punishing people for committing crimes as harshly as we can, that's not going to stop crime. People are still going to continue to commit offenses. What we need to do is address the underlying issues. That is how I think we're tough on crime. We also need to take into consideration everybody's individual circumstances. Somebody who steals a loaf of bread from the store versus somebody who steals a movie, both committed a retail theft. Not both of them need to be punished the same way. We need to figure out what led them to the situation where they're in front of the court in the first place and address those needs. So that way those people don't ever come back to court.
Thank you. Mr. Shomish, same question.
Being tough on crime is a tough one because, you want to be tough and fair. And that's why they call it justice. That's why they have the scales. And these are municipal ordinances, so no one's going away, no one's serving time, no one's going on probation. The purpose of these ordinances are deterrent and admonitory. You're trying to punish, and you're trying to deter the conduct in the future. Certain types of activity, we had a neighbor who his child overdosed on heroin. Someone died in the Quick Trip last year. My wife served on a jury for that. I'm really concerned about the opioid crisis, but I'm really more concerned about the heroin. It's something I am interested in doing community outreach on. You don't want people showing up at your court thinking, oh, that guy's a pushover. But, the way I would handle it is if someone comes up with a good reason, they're doing something with their life and they're doing fine, I might be inclined to be more on the lenient side of the scale. If they tell me a load of crock, I'm gonna slap them down. And so, how you be tough with it, you have to take each situation, use your humanity, don't forget that, use the ordinances, and then see if these people are what they would call frequent flyers or not. Maybe we can make a real difference. And that is quite honestly one of the reasons I want to be involved in this, because I think it's an area where you can make a good difference at a local level.
Thank you. And Mr. Shomish, I have just one final question for both of you, but you start this time. And that's, if there are efficiencies to be made in running the municipal court, why hasn't it been changed before now?
That's a good question. Everyone, is always seeking to build a better mousetrap. I had spoken with Mandy, and it looked like she has quite an efficient system. Is there a way, I'm not interested in trading phone calls back and forth. I know there's days in my litigation practice where I won't look at emails, or I will not take phone calls because I have certain things scheduled. And so you have to stay focused on what it is that you're doing. But with respect, Mandy and I talked about having in-person pretrials so that there aren't phone calls back and forth. Line them up, stack them up, get through them, get them done. I mean, you can't do that with every case, but a lot of them, the people are just looking to get a few points down. As long as the revenue is preserved and they have a lesson. I mean, how many of us have ever gotten a traffic ticket, and if the officer was rude to us and we got into it with them, then suddenly we didn't learn a lesson. But if we learned a lesson because they explained it to it, that was fine. So by taking some of these outside of the court system, we can make it more efficient. Now, why wouldn't it be more efficient before today? Because other people look at things differently. I'm guessing that Mandy did things differently than the predecessor clerk. I'm guessing that either Mr. Hogan or I would do things differently than the way Len Kaczynski did them. I would certainly hope so. And so, that being said, I don't know why the reason would be that it's not inefficient. Sometimes it just helps to have a fresh set of eyes. And I'm a shareholder in a law firm, and I'm used to looking at the bottom line. And we have several employees that rely on us for their livelihoods, and if we don't pay attention, we won't be efficient. So I think it's just getting the teamwork together, and not that the other people were bad, it's just there's always a way to improve the process.
Thank you. Mr. Hogan, same question.
Thank you. I don't know why it's been the same way for a long time. I don't know if that's because some people are resistant to change. You hear the saying, change is never good. I don't know if it's because Len Kaczynski was on the bench for 20 plus years and just wanted to do the same thing that he always did because he was used to it. The first phone call that I made after I chose to run for municipal judge was to Tyler Clearingbull to see what could we do better. He's the village prosecutor. I followed that up with speaking with Mandy to see, okay, Tyler gave me these ideas. What can we do better? How can this be run more efficiently? I think the desire to want change, the desire to try to make things more efficiently, to use our money wisely, that's why it never changed, because somebody had the idea that they didn't want to change. I think the municipal judge needs to do that, needs to ask those questions. How can we do better? Not just one time, not just every other year, every other election, all of the time. Asking for community output or input at every stage of the process. What do you like about this system? What do you not like about this system? How can we do things better? I think that's why it hasn't changed. Those questions were never being asked. Finally, We have people who are willing to ask those questions. I think the fact that you are all here tonight is proof that the more you start asking questions, the more you can make things run better than the way it was before.
Thank you. And now we can start with the closing statements. You each have 2 minutes for that, and Mr. Hogan, we'll start with you.
Again, thank you all for being here today. As I said before, it would be an honor to serve as your municipal judge. I have 8 years of courtroom experience handling the exact same types of cases that the municipal judge would preside over. Traffic, non-traffic ordinance violations. Most of my practice is that. Going in front of judges, handling complex suppression issues on cases where people say, hey, I shouldn't have been pulled over in the first place. We need a judge who can handle those sorts of situations, who's seen those situations. Judges that are not going to get a pleading and say, I've never seen this issue before. Ones that have worked with prosecutors, knows what prosecutors look for, knows what defense attorneys look for. I think that I can be that person. I can proudly say I'm supported by several prosecutors and defense attorneys in the area. I would be proud to serve as your municipal judge. I would be open to feedback. My time on the county board allowed me to see that, how important all of you are to this entire process. Everyone sitting here today has an opinion on how we can make this better. And I'm willing to listen to that if elected your municipal judge. I'm looking forward to serving if I get that opportunity and hopefully work with many more of you not on that side of the bench in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shomish.
Thank you. In my 30 years, I did do some OWIs when I was a young attorney in Milwaukee. I think the less mine run claims, I like to duck hunt. They recently opened up duck hunting on part of Little Lake Butamore, and I haven't actually taken advantage of that. I go out on Lake Winnebago, but the point is that it isn't just speeding tickets and municipal tickets. I've developed real estate. I've done stuff in Grand Chute and in the former town of Menasha, where you're talking about drainage ponds. I've seen it when people get into it for the size of their deck. All you have to do is Google the village ordinances. There's all sorts of crazy stuff on there. So my wide and varied experience is fine. Any decent attorney who's been practicing for any amount of time can pick up something and study it. My law firm has an office. I run the Appleton office. We also have a De Pere office. We have prosecutors who prosecute the area's small towns surrounding Green Bay. So I have access. I was able to tap and ask them what they like. A couple of my associates do criminal defense, as does my partner John D'Angelo. I said, what bothers you when you go into a municipal court? And they're like, well, it's a kangaroo court. You never know what you're going to get. And so what you really have to do is strive for consistency. You don't want to be the guy, the judge was, I don't want to go, he's a hanging judge, and you don't want to go, he's an easy guy. You want to say, I don't know what you're going to get, but he's tough and he's fair. And that, again, that would be my goal. So to be tough and to be fair and to help everyone, be the best that we can be, because this is a really awesome community. I've loved living here, and as I say, I'm going to be planted here. I'm going nowhere. I realize that because of Len, there's only 2-year terms, but if you'll have me, I'll do it as long as you'll have me. Thank you.
Thank you to the audience for being attentive and courteous and asking good questions. And thank you to both of our candidates. We'll now take a very short break, I think about 5 minutes, and then we'll resume with the second part of our forum tonight. So a final applause.